So we predominantly do fix and flips, right around 40 to 50 a year. Used to wholesale, used to do a bunch of other things, got rid of all of that, and just really slimmed it down to, hey, I'm really good at the acquisitions, I'm really good at connecting with other wholesalers. Let's just go ahead and fix and flip as many as we can and go from there.
When you say connecting with other wholesalers, do you mean you're buying them from other wholesalers?
Yep. Yeah. So
interesting.
We buy almost 90% of our deals from either other wholesalers or realtors that we've worked with in the past. They'll just shoot us a pocket listing here or there, and that's how we've kind of grown to where we're at.
What is a pocket listing again?
So pocket listing, when an agent has a deal that maybe that buyer either inherited the house or they're getting ready to go to foreclosure, whatever the situation is where they just don't want to go to market. They don't want to go through the traditional, hey, list it, have a bunch of people walk it, 30 days later sell it. We're able to come in and say, hey, we'll pay you cash in 14 days, 21 days, whatever it is they're looking for. We typically meet their terms and we're able to walk in and buy it. Typically a lot less than what we would buy it at market.
Got it. Man, I do love renovations before and after. Having the pride and like building something is very fun. What drew you to actually doing fix and flip?
So it actually kind of started as a joke. I was in the financial space working as a financial advisor with a bunch of other clients that were just happened to be in real estate. Met with a few of them. They actually flew down to Florida. We had kind of a spring break real estate edition, if you will. We all kind of connected that way, and my dad's always been kind of redneck certified to fix things. So I was like, hey, this sounds like fun, right? He's worked, retired, wanted something else to do. He's like, if I quit working, I'm going to die. And I was like, well, let's not have that happen. So bought him a truck, started the company, bought one house. That house turned into 3 houses, that 3 to 5, and then into doing what we're doing now.
Okay, perfect. So that's really cool. You had a purpose for your dad.
Yes, sir.
And that's amazing that you enjoyed it too. So that makes a lot of sense. Is he doing construction on 50 properties a year?
No. So what we'll do now is he'll just kind of come in and he'll do some of the custom closets that we do, or some custom shutters or a porch out front, whatever that is. So he's not lead hands-on doing every single thing at every house now. Now there is times where he will come in where we have 12 projects going on at once. We only have so many crews, and he'll go in and he'll actually start with him and his partner, do as much as they can until we're able to free up another crew. Then they'll jump in and kind of finish it with each other.
That's so many moving parts to have a full fix and flip on 50 homes. What's the average from start to finish on one home? 4 months?
No. We do 30 to 45 days on average.
Wow.
We're probably average rehab of between 60 and 80,000.
Which is pretty significant, but maybe not full gut.
Yeah, a lot of them are floors, kitchen, bathrooms, maybe a roof or an HVAC. We try not to do anything too crazy unless it's in the luxury space. Like anything that we're doing with an ARV of over $1 million, sure, we're doing a $250,000 rehab. Like we're doing a lot of moving pieces, but most of them are really direct replacement. Maybe slightly nicer fixtures or custom doors, something crazy like that to kind of stand out on market. But as far as rehab, it's kind of rinse and repeat. The guys know exactly what they're supposed to do. We don't have to do a lot of overhead management at this point for them.
Got it. How much would you expect to make on a house that you would take the risk to buy, have the money to fix it up, and hold it for 45 days during that process? Like, what would you need to make in order for that to be a good deal worth your time?
Yes, so we do everything based on a percentage, right? So we buy it between 70 and 73% of ARV minus repairs, like most do. Now we tailor that based on days on market or how long we think the rehab's going to take. Obviously, if those are longer than average, we have to buy it at a reduced price. Our average net though is 72,000 per house over what we did last year and the year before. Now we structure a lot of ours in JVs. So what I do is, hey, for a 70-30 split, all you need to do is bring the capital. Like what we'll do is we'll partner that with Codie, another lender, whatever that looks like. They'll bring the 60 grand that we need to cover the holding costs, to start the rehab, all the fun stuff. That's it. Our designers go and design, do all the fun stuff. So we actually net on our end closer to between 45 grand on average because we're giving up a lot.
Who's your partner?
Piece. So Kessler, he runs the construction company.
Oh, so he's the one who's making the other portion?
No. So
who's doing the 30-70? Who are you doing that with?
So whenever we acquire property from a wholesaler, from whoever it is, what I do is I make a Facebook post and I say, hey, we're raising 60 grand, right? Or we'll go to one of our private lenders and say, hey, we're raising 60 grand for this deal. For that, we give up 30% of the equity for them to basically come in and just cover everything.
Oh, and Codie will do that?
Yeah, so Codie has a program where you can have them in second position. The only difference is instead of the traditional loan with Codie where it kind of steps up as you do more and more rehab because your loan size is getting bigger with that draw. it just starts out as basically 100% of the rehab is done. But since we're able to do them in 30 to 45 days, there's not really a lot of added costs.
But they're not a partner; they're a flat fee lender, or they're like a fee structure lender, right?
No, so that JV partner will actually come in the second position.
Yeah.
And we just have basically a JV agreement between the two. So I take title.
But Kiavi is coming in
in the first position.
They're not charging you. Oh, Kiavi is the lender.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
So who would be doing the 70-30 split? Like a random person from Facebook?
Correct. Yeah. A random private money lender, another investor, whoever that was, just whoever's grandma, had 80 grand or 60 grand, whatever it was, that wanted to invest in that deal.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them, it's their first really barrier to entry into real estate. It's a safer way for them to be able to see the process from start to finish.
Got it.
Without having to just throw out, every dollar they have.
Okay. Cool. And so when did you do your first one? Because I imagine that's like a challenging thing to do, raise private money from somebody.
Yeah, so I technically did my first one on accident while I was in the military. Bought a house on a VA loan. It was a cheap $58,000 house, I think, out in Texas, middle of nowhere out in Bracketville. And from there, I just kind of did some renovations, sold it, and was like, hey, that's cool. I made $6 grand. In the military, I was making absolutely nothing. Again, didn't do it on purpose. It just kind of happened. So I really started to study it, research it, forgot all about it whenever I went into the financial advising space. And then I partnered with a few of those people that I was coaching and mentoring in the financial advising space, 2020, 2021. But we actually dove in full time in 2022 in Florida, where we said, hey, you guys come down. I've, again, poured into you. You guys come pour into me. And let's kind of grow something down in Florida.
Got it. So you, thanks for your service in the military.
Appreciate it.
What branch were you in?
The Air Force.
Gotcha. What did you do in the Air Force?
So I was a firefighter for them for 6 years. Loved it, had a ton of fun, but also had a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was at a base where it was kind of half civilian, half military working together. Mm-hmm. A lot of them were business owners or, were doing other things. So I was super fortunate to be able to be just around the right people.
To that, right?
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
So you bought this house, VA loan is usually 0% down, good interest rate. And it's only $58,000, right? So it needed work. You were living in it?
Yeah, so I lived in it, just kind of worked on it again, kind of grew up, again, watched my dad, redneck certified, so I'd go to YouTube University and figure out, hey, how do I fix the shower? How do I do this? But yeah, just slowly did the flooring, painted some cabinets, nothing crazy. And then, we were able to turn around and sell it as I was actually leaving for a deployment. Came back, didn't have a house, so rented, and there was the sweetest old lady that was rented out to me. And she was telling me how she built one house and then built the duplex and then the triplex. And so I've been very, very lucky and fortunate, I guess, to just kind of be in the right situation at the right time.
Yeah. So then what was the second deal like? You were living in this house?
Yeah. So after that, again, paused on that for a few years, went to a completely different sector. And I was actually living in Delaware whenever we bought our first house down here in Florida. I still live in Delaware now, fly back and forth a lot, but what I did is I partnered with one of those other real estate investors that flew down to Florida to meet with me. Partnered with her. We bought, again, 1 and then 2 and then 3. It was actually a terrible experience. She went bankrupt after we bought our 4th house and pretty much said, good luck. Like, do you want to go to foreclosure? Do you want to take them over and figure it out? So I chose to take it over and figure it out route. And that's really what propelled us because I had to get very comfortable very quickly. And that's really what shot us into kind of where we're at now.
Did you raise private money on your second deal?
Yep. So what I did is I went through my contacts, A to Z, called every single person. I said, hey, if you have $2,000, you have $5,000, you have $20,000, whatever that number is, we're raising, I think at the time, it was an 85 loan. So our loan to cost was very expensive, even for a $300,000 house.
What does 85 to 85 mean? What does that mean?
So the lender will cover 85% of the purchase price and then up to 85% of the rehab.
Okay.
So that 15%.
So you have to come up with the rest.
Yeah.
On both sides.
Yeah. So that down payment, being 15% plus some of the lender costs.
Yeah.
They charge a fee, all the fun stuff. So it ended up really being closer to 20% down.
Yeah.
On a $200,000 house. Yeah. Well, it was also a $150,000 rehab. It was a major rehab. I should have never done it for my first house. I was just trusting that partner that I brought in because they were the expert in that space. I called every single person I had, and I kind of, now what I know is syndicated a deal. I brought in, again, a bunch of smaller investors at $5 grand a piece, and we were able to just kind of sandwich it together and gave them all promissory notes. Like it wasn't a second through 12th position with title, just because again the amounts were smaller. It would have been a lot of headache. Just kind of sandwiched it together, did that, and then after we had the proof of concept, again, we do a lot on social media where we're posting, hey, here's where we're at this week, here's what we're doing next week. And people just kind of started to watch it. And
What's your social media?
So it's very simple. It's just Codie Chesner, Codie. My mom can't spell. So we've grown.
Is that on Instagram or Facebook?
Both.
Okay.
So either one, just my first and last name. Feel free to reach out, message me with any questions. I love to do these things. We do a lot of coaching, a lot of mentoring. But through that, we've been very fortunate that we've had random investors, maybe people I've worked with in the past, or someone's cousin says, hey, I kind of seen this guy. How do you know him? They'll connect us, and we've been super fortunate. We raised a little over $4 million last year in private capital just through, again, organic social media. We don't spend anything on marketing outside of, again, our
And it wasn't like
guy.
one big raise, but it was like for each house needed a certain amount of money, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, for instance, like I have one that closes on Monday. We did an $80,000 raise for it, and it was very simple for me to just say, hey, again, on Facebook, here's what the projected ROI is. Here's what it is. You'll be projected in the second position now that we understand what that is. And a lot of people just reach out and say, hey, love to do it. Or, we have times where there's no one. Right around the holidays and stuff, it's typically a little tighter, where we'll just kind of self-fund if we need to out of a business line of credit or something like that.
Back to the second deal, did you have the house first or the money for the down payment first?
So I was always taught to have the deal first.
Okay. Yeah.
It's very hard to market a deal that you don't have, right? So I can't come to you and say, hey, we're projecting you to make $35,000 on this house.
But it's not a deal that you have yet. So how do you know you'll find a house? It could be different. That makes sense.
Exactly. Now, I have heard of people doing the other, and it's to kind of build that pent-up demand, if you will, right? So a lot of people that don't have deals, but they project them, to maybe be ready to have their first deal in 3 months, whatever that is, they'll start to have those preliminary calls of, hey, this is what I'm looking to do, or hey, I'm actively looking for a deal at this space. This is what we think we're going to need. Are you interested? And now whenever they do get that deal, they're able to just call that Rolodex of 6 people instead of trying to call 60 people. They have a really targeted kind of piece, which also works out really well.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, it's that makes total sense. Now, the lender, do you use the same lender every time?
So we have 2 lenders that we use. Kiavi does 95% of our loans now. Thanks to
and
the
it's all
collective
deal
genius.
based, right? Because you did the second one probably without a lot of experience, obviously.
Yep.
I mean, the first one, I don't even know that they would call that as an experience, right?
Yeah.
That was So that's pretty cool. Those lenders exist. They're based on the deal.
Yep.
And do they did you have a partner that knew what they were doing as kind of a, hey, this will make them feel comfortable?
Yep.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So the first deal, like I said, I had worked with another partner that had been doing 50 to 60 flips a year in Ohio. What they did is they pieced a profile together. So they took her experience. My credit score was higher at the time, and they threw it together. She was using the same lender over and over and over again. It was just terrible loans, terrible rates. Again, a lot more educated now than I was 2 years ago, to just kind of blindly follow. But yeah, now it's almost Kiavi. Like I said, probably 95% of the time, we'll sprinkle in maybe Rehab Financial Group or a few others that do very similar lending. But Kiavi is the leader of any lender I've used, anything. I mean, if it's a 5-day close, sorry, but they'll still do it. They just don't love it as much.
Whoa, that's fast.
But yeah, we've done 4 or 5-day closes with them. Again, they obviously prefer longer, but there's times where I can call, my Kiavi rep and say, hey, I'm so sorry, but the wholesaler said, hey, I can have this deal in 4 days if we can pull it off. She says, awesome. Let's do it. I like a challenge.
What all do they have to do in that process? What do they have to do before they can approve that loan to be closed?
Yeah, so for Kiavi, it's super simple. I send over the purchase agreement, and then if the wholesaler has an assignment fee, obviously I'll attach that to it so they have all the documentation. I'll connect them with my insurance agent, who I want to use and who title is. The only other thing I do is put together the scope of work. So my contractor will go through and walk the house and tell me, hey, windows are going to cost you $10,000, permits are going to be this is going to be that. I'll lay all that out. And I just submit it. Typically the next day, Kiavi will go in and they actually do internal underwriting for their valuation. So they're able to, instead of sending an appraiser out, which takes 3 or 4 days, they're able to just look at it and say, hey, we think that house is worth $800. You're telling me it's worth, $820. We'll just kind of reconcile it at some point right there in that space. And as long as we're not too far off, we're pretty much good to go.
Got it. Okay, cool. Man, that's a really tight time frame because most of my loans that I've closed, it's been 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah. And A lot of lenders obviously prefer that much time because it gives them more space and more, like anything I close through any other lender, I wouldn't dare try to do it 10 days or less, right? 10 business days. So you're not too far off. I would just also not be scared to say, hey guys, can you make it work? Can you not? At least give them a chance to. You'd be surprised what people are able to pull off, kind of given that pressure.
What's like the biggest challenge you've had with scaling up to 50 flips per year?
Purely contracting. So finding the deals, I've always been, again, just very fortunate, very lucky to just, I think, connect with the right people at the right time. Same thing with raising private capital. Again, very fortunate. I'm very transparent with the people I work with. I'll tell you my wins, I'll tell you my losses. And I open up my books. Hey, you can look through QuickBooks, you can look through whatever you want. I feel very comfortable. But contracting is where we probably lost $250,000 last year. We've had contractors where we paid them $30,000 up front to go start a job, and then they literally went off to St. Thomas, and we'd never seen them again. We've had contractors where we paid them. We were doing 2 luxury flips kind of back to back. They had about 180 grand of our capital. Owner got a DUI, froze all the accounts. So anything that could have went wrong last year probably went wrong. We've had partners, take money, but a lot of it.
Wait, how does a partner take money? I thought the partner was giving money.
So that's why I strictly do JV deals now. We've done true 50-50 partnerships in the past where, hey, we're both on bank accounts, we're both on LLCs, we're both on these things. And again, had partners that we had done multiple deals with, 10, 12, 15 deals. And then for whatever reason, they have a gambling debt. Whatever life looks like, they just basically took the money and ran. Great lesson learned. Again, as a 27-year-old, I can afford to eat that lesson and move that forward, doing business correctly and make sure the attorneys are writing things the right way. But yeah, so anything, again, that could have went wrong, but they were all great lessons learned to kind of help us go from 5 deals to, 20 deals to, approaching 50, moving closer to 60 deals for the year.
Got it. Okay. I'm glad that you're able to recover from that.
Yeah.
It's really scary.
Yeah. Not a lot of fun the day you open up your bank account and you're like, man, there's 600 grand that's gone.
So the contractors that you paid $30,000 and they went off to St. whatever.
Yeah.
How do you prevent that, right? Just don't give them as big of a down payment to start the job?
Yeah. So a lot of it is just maybe interviewing a little better. Again, the larger company that went off, got a DUI, like the larger company, highly recommended. So you're not going to bat, 100 for 100, but we actually opened up our own construction company now where a lot of the guys are W-2, 1099. And we actually just continue to use the same crews now. We'll keep 6 to 8 guys at a time, and we'll sub out very small things. Maybe HVAC is one of those things we don't have someone in-house for. Electrical from time to time if our electricians are busy. But now that we're able to have that oversight directly from the other construction company, eliminates that issue.
Got it. Man, how many 1099 people do you have?
So right now we sit probably right around between 90 and 100, give or take, depending on the day, as far as like 1099 W-2 guys that work directly for us. And we've built it by...
Who's keeping track of all that? Just so many people to even think about paying.
Yeah, so
keeping track of their time, what they're owed.
Yeah, so we actually pay by the job instead of paying outside of W-2 guys who are project managers.
Yeah.
Everyone else, again, they're paid by the job, right? So, hey, when painting's done, you're going to make X. When this is done, you'll make Y. But my partner, Kessler, actually runs all of that. And again, my now focus is here. But last year, that was a big problem for us. We were both trying to do the same thing. We were both trying to run both. We were working together, but also kind of in different spaces. So this year, what we did is we looked at our plan and we said, hey, how can we be more efficient? And it was, hey, you actually run all of the construction. I'm purely going to be the one out talking to investors, finding deals, doing whatever. Now, he gets a lot of pocket listing stuff as well, so he just texts them over to me. But now he's, again, fully responsible for that. I don't even have to worry about it. And that's our big kind of growth step to how do we go from 50 to, more.
Where do you want to go in 2025?
So actually a completely different direction. I plan to actually bring this down to closer to maybe 30 houses, but we're adding new builds. We're adding what I want to do is self-storage, kind of Q3, Q4. So I'm looking to replace myself out of this side, but we don't want to completely kill the business because it's kind of automated already at this point, right? We have the connections, we have the teams. Why
do you want to reduce the number?
So right now I'm the face of anything, right? So I go and talk to an investor, it's my name. I go and talk to whoever, it's my name that's on the line. And I need to make sure that the person that's sitting in my seat so that I can really focus more on the commercial side is someone that I trust. And, again, we've worked with in the past. Like, I wanted to have a lot of credibility because, it's still my name on the line for everything. It's still my company that's signing all the paperwork.
Right.
I really want to make sure that that person can be trusted and things are done correctly before we say, hey, go do 60 houses with the team that we have.
Okay. What do you want to do on the commercial side?
So a lot of it, what we're looking to get into is self-storage. I want to do a lot of ground up or, seller finance acquisitions on that side. I've been working with a few other folks that are doing apartment complexes and that side of things. So we really want to try kind of each thing, if you will, figure out which one we actually like. Like, I can think about it on a kind of 30,000 foot view and say, hey, self-storage, no tenants, no toilets. Sounds like a dream. But everything sounds like a dream until you get into it. So.
Do you know who lends for that? So I have a piece of land right now that I'd love to buy, 10 acres, and I'd love to make it a self-storage place for race cars. It's right by a racetrack. And so who lends on land that you would build ground up facilities like that?
So
do you know?
Something that size, I don't think your typical Kiavi or something like that is going to do. A lot of the people I'm talking with actually just do it through a bank.
Is it by land size or is it by just a dollar amount?
I think it's by asset class, right? So I believe, and again, I could be wrong, Kiavi, sorry. I believe they try to stay in really that single family space, 1 to 4 units.
You're kind of going this direction for the first time yourself.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Gotcha. So still a lot of learning, which is why I'm really looking to replace myself out because I don't need to be overly educated, but I need to be educated enough to understand what I'm doing before I do it.
Well, I really like that you figured something out and you want to replace what you're doing so that you can go above and beyond and learn something new.
Absolutely.
I think that's really smart. The other way around would be like, oh, you hire somebody to go figure out self-storage, and I just don't think that would work out too well. I like the way you're doing it.
Absolutely. I like to be that person that, again, right, I'm just the face of a lot of these things. So it'd also be very hard unless that person was another really good operator already for me to now turn around and say, hey, guys, you're investing in me, but it's really this person.
Yes.
It's easier, I think, to do it the other way because there's already familiarity.
Well, totally. But let me explain a little bit for everyone listening. Like, I had a customer who said they fired their cold caller. They weren't getting any deals. They said they were making 300 calls a day in 8-hour days. And I was like, have you cold called?
Yeah.
Because I could make 169 calls in an hour and a half. So if they're charging you 8 hours and only making 300 calls, I think there is a problem. Yeah. So maybe make calls yourself first. I always like to know what the job is first. I like to learn it myself. I like to actually do it myself. So I have some, compass on like, hey, is this person like doing things that make sense? Are they doing a good job? So I can manage them going forward. Yeah, and I mean, you can reduce that all the way down to really anything, right? Like, how do you know the contractor's not ripping you off if you haven't spent time, with them or going to Lowe's or those very small things add up very quickly. So yeah, I like that a lot. We used to run a wholesale team, and I think we might have got rid of it a little prematurely, just because I felt like I was babysitting 6 adults that we were training, we poured a bunch of hours into. Maybe it's something where if we had a software or platform to maybe help them a little more, we would have been better. But doing that, obviously, right, it gave me the insight of, hey, I know what it's like now to make those 100 calls, right? I know what it's like to shoot out a bunch of text messages to agents, and there's an importance to that for sure. Well, thank you for breaking down your business. That was really exciting for me to hear somebody that focuses exclusively on rehabs.
Yeah.
I think that's really unique. I know a lot of people I talked to earlier were like, oh man, those rehabs are so tough. I actually did more wholesales this year. When the interest rates went up and they thought things slowed down for them. So it was really, truly like awesome to hear about your business and how that scaled and how you incorporated your dad. What are you going to go do the rest of the day?
So from here, heading over to the CG event. Super excited to just kind of meet and continue to work with a lot of folks that are doing things, 4X what I'm doing, 10X what I'm doing. So it's great to just kind of have that space to kind of grow and evolve. And again, excited to just kind of continue to rub elbows. And you never know when that next opportunity or where it's going to come from.
Well, I hope it's a good afternoon and time well spent. Thank you very much,
sir.
Codie. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.